Mike Mentzer was an absolute legend in the bodybuilding community that changed the game. Wait a minute, you don't know who Mike Mentzer is? I assume not a lot of people on my channel know who this is because this isn't the type of video I'd make, but I'll explain it. Look, here he is with Arnold. Everyone knows Arnold. You know, the dude from the hit movie Hercules in New York. Just kidding, that movie sucked. But on a serious note, for those who don't know, Mike Mentzer was a bodybuilder that competed at the top level. IFBB Pro, he went to Mr. Olympia, and he was the first and only bodybuilder to get a perfect score of 300. You see, if you take the total amount of points you can possibly score, the amount is 300. And he got a 300, which means he's the only person to ever get a perfect score in every single muscle group. That means perfect size, proportions, conditioning, everything perfect. So this guy's got a pretty impressive resume. But how did he start? Because you don't just spawn in with a physique like this.
I guess a logical point would be to start with, how did you first learn about bodybuilding and how did you first know that this is what you wanted to devote a large portion of your life to?
I was at a drugstore with my mother in my hometown of Ephrata, Pennsylvania, and while she was off doing some shopping, I was looking over the magazines, and all of a sudden my attention was arrested by the sight of a muscle man. And I knew instantly there was no lag time. This is what I was going to be.
So his start was actually pretty straightforward. He saw some guys in a magazine and he wanted to be like them. But those weren't the only people that influenced him. He attended a ton of power meets and also trained with a bunch of powerlifters, Olympic powerlifters. And I think it's this group of guys is where he got that intense training style from that he's known for. And you know, Olympic guys, they're obviously juicing. And I think that obviously influenced him to do the same. Like, he's 14 in this picture. There's no way he's natty. And I know, he's got some genetics for it. He was an Olympian, of course he has genetics for it. Like, look at this picture of him and his brother. They both look insane. A kid with good genetics, good coaches, and good discipline, no wonder he's an Olympian.
I started competing at the age of 18 in local physique contests, which I did very well in. I won my first contest, which was the Mr. Lancaster County, Pennsylvania contest. Not long thereafter, I went to the state level and won the Mr. Pennsylvania.
Mike racked up win after win, but that would all come to a halt when he got a shoulder injury in the Air Force. He didn't have time to train, and even when he did train, he couldn't train upper body because his shoulder was hurt. What if? That's the question that kept Mike up at night. What if I could be Mr. America? When Mike's enlistment ended, he decided not to re-enlist so he could have plenty of time to work out so he could achieve his goals. He won the Mr. America Junior, but when it came time for the Mr. America, he lost. His competition was just too good. Robbie Robinson was an absolute beast. But one good thing did come from this. He got to be on the newspaper. He became the guy he always wanted to become. Speaking of becoming the person that you want to become, help me do that. Help me become a YouTuber. Subscribe. No, but seriously, I have less than 2,000 subscribers and I'm making great videos like this, so any sub is greatly appreciated. After that loss, that's when Mike really took that high intensity training seriously, and it paid off. He won the competition and he was on to the Olympia. But things are far from smooth sailing for him.
The night before the Night of Champions, Mike had received bad news about the condition of his terminally ill mother. Then, 2 weeks later, she passed away. Devastated by the death of his mother, Mike stopped training for 6 weeks. He ate all the wrong things and put on too much weight to the point where he'd barely looked like a bodybuilder. 4 months away from the 1979 Mr. Olympia, Mike knew he had no choice but to pull himself together, or he'd have to forget about making his Mr. Olympia debut.
Despite what was going on with Mike, he was able to pull through and he was actually able to win his class at the Mr. Olympia, which was the over 200 pounds. But when it came to the overall, the title went to the reigning champ, Frank Zane. It wasn't a complete loss for Mike though, he won his overall. And even though the judges think Zane should have won, the crowd said Mike. They said Mike was better. So in reality, this was a big win for Mike. And he was favored looking into the 1980 Olympia. Mike was tired of getting second place and he kicked it in gear, way up gear. He was dieting harder and harder because he wanted to be not second place, not third place, he wanted to be the best. It didn't matter what it would take. So he started taking crazy stuff. I'm not talking no Coach Greg testosterone, no, I'm talking I'm talking anything it would take. And he wasn't taking it to get high. No, he was doing it to get an edge on his competitors. That's how bad he wanted this win. He said at times he was so fatigued he couldn't even raise his hand. And right before the Olympia, guess who decides to come out of retirement? Arnold.
I think it would be kind of an interesting challenge, really, to do something in 8 weeks that most of the guys do in preparing a year or 2 years.
Arnold decided to come in and prep for 8 weeks. Mike prepped for 9 months for this competition. Mike had came in the leanest he'd been in his entire life.
What has been your proudest moment as a professional bodybuilder? The condition I attained with the 1980 Olympia, I had started dieting that year in February, and the contest was in October or November, I can't quite remember. I really did reach a peak of condition. My muscle quality was the best ever, and that was my proudest moment.
Arnold came in looking pretty bad. All the other competitors were way leaner than he was, and yet Arnold won the show. No one thought Arnold should have won. He didn't look nearly as good as he should have, and there was way better competitors. And Mike literally had that win ripped out of his hands.
Mike carried was the bitterness of losing to Arnold. It was not a subjective sport, and according to the criteria that he had, he should be the winner.
The only people who saw Arnold as the winner were the 7 judges and his closest friends. None of the other competitors saw him as the winner. None of the audience, or very few, only those that were his friends. I thought I should have won. A lot of people thought so. That was my lowest. I knew my career was over right there.
Mike wasn't the only one that felt this way. A lot of other people just quit competing and retired because of this, because they knew it wasn't fair. They felt cheated, and rightfully so. Like, imagine being Mike. This dude literally took meth and he still lost. He literally put his life on the line at times. Since Mike retired, he's still worked on his newspaper and still worked on being a personal coach. Despite not bodybuilding anymore, he was still hooked on meth. He also done supposedly a lot of other drugs, but those aren't actually confirmed. Mike kept spiraling without any purpose in his life and no direction.
Stories even began to spread in the bodybuilding world of a crazed Mike Mentzer indulging in increasingly bizarre behavior. Running naked through the streets, prophesizing the end of the world, being arrested by the police numerous times, and waiting for aliens to land.
One day I was walking to Gold's Gym, and Mike's in the gutter, laying there like a drunken guy. I'm like, oh my God, Mike. He didn't hear me. I'm like, then he walked in when we were training and warming up, taking his pictures off the walls. I said to my training partner, Tony, if I ever get like that, keep the pictures, stay on the wall, okay? Don't let me do that. I was sort of making a joke, but I felt so sad for Mike. I was worried about him. I'm like, wow, Mike, he was the guy that, the intellectual, the guy that was the scientist. He had a great mind. I'm like, what a great bodybuilder. That's the way we should be,
Sadly, soon after, Mike passed away of a heart attack in 2001. He might not have ever won the Olympia, but he'll always be remembered as the uncrowned winner. If you enjoy these videos, they're literally free to watch. So I would encourage liking and subscribing. I'm a small YouTuber, so anything helps. And if you watch the video all the way through, that means you liked the video, so why wouldn't you subscribe? Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching.